Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning. Welcome to the final Friday of May edition of Hot Mic here on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com on the 29th day of May. After a long day yesterday, it feels like I just left this place. Welcome, everybody, to Hot Mic. I am Dom Izzo, host of said show. It's already been a day. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's final day of school for those of us that live in Moorhead. That's myself, obviously. I know thousands others that watch our program that are in Moorhead today. Big day because it's my wife's last day of school, so she's excited about that. It's also the Jackman's last day of first grade, which I didn't know would hit me. I guess everything's going to hit me harder than I ever thought. First day, certainly, but last, this is it. This is another one done. Preschool I thought was one, kindergarten another one, and now first grade is done so. And he's killing it. He's super pumped to get ready to go with second grade. But as he got on the bus today, I'm like, man, here we go. People told me it would go fast, and it has. So way to go, Jack, man. I'm happy and proud of you, buddy. And got to see him off today. And summer vacation begins on Monday for him. Now, that was on top of, I had to make sure I got back from Jamestown, and shout out to all the great people in Jamestown who took care of us yesterday. We'll be back out there later today for day 2 of the State B baseball tournament. Now, I drove out early yesterday morning as we did the show out there, and it's always fun to do a road game show. I enjoy those. It's great to be back in the air-conditioned studios, at least we somewhat in here. Gets warm in the studio when the door is closed. But I missed out, apparently, on the hijinks that happened on I-94 yesterday, because I'm oblivious to it as we're basically in the submarine. Once Hot Mic got going, that you try to keep pace on what's going on in the rest of the world. But we had a 2-hour show that we had 4 baseball games. We had 2 of them go extra innings, and the last one took a ways. I mean, we got done at 9:45. Last night. So it was a long day, right? And I drove back home for the biggest reason to make sure I saw the Jackman. Well, I woke up this morning, and apparently I missed, thankfully, because I was driving on 94 West to go to Jamestown yesterday, the bees that got released on the interstate. This is a picture of it yesterday that happened on I-94. Truck hauling bees overturned Thursday, releasing millions of bees and closing 1 lane of traffic. I mean, that is a mess, first off. And granted, I'm driving at night, so I didn't see anything, and I was in the zone of I was going to get home as early as possible. But apparently near mile marker 292 near Valley City, releasing millions of bees. We don't know what kind of bees. Hopefully no wasps. We don't want any part of that. Officials say the Cable Barrier area marked where large groups of bees had clustered. Now, I'm driving back out there later this afternoon. Windows will be up at all times as I get anywhere close there, but that's nothing to mess with because I know some people are allergic to bees. That's can be nothing you want to get involved with there. So apparently that happened on top of everything else yesterday. So for those that are heading west, if you're going to state softball or state baseball today in Jamestown, just be aware that apparently there are millions of bees on the loose. That is a mess of what happened yesterday out near Valley City. On top of that, we had some sports that went down yesterday. What a day. And, I'll shelve my complaints for why they have all the tournaments on top of one another. Yesterday is a day to honor the athletes. We had 20 separate quarterfinal games happening, whether it was soccer, whether it was A and B baseball, A and B softball. You had 4 quarterfinals at each of those particular sites going down. And that's a lot, for the people that were out in Jamestown, and I was visiting with some as we were during the games or in between games of people that are going back and forth between softball and baseball. It's a lot. That they love having it, but it's a lot of work that takes to have those tournaments in those particular spots. Let's try it. We'll recap as best we can. We're not going to get to everything, but we'll try and summarize the highlights of yesterday. We'll start with what happened in Jamestown yesterday at the Class B baseball tournament, which we had a run rule game to start, and we had a 16-run game to end. In between, we had 2 extra inning wild games between higher seeds that blew late inning leads. We'll start with Thompson and Bottineau. Thompson, remind you, has won 4 consecutive state championships. They led this game 4-2 going to the top of the 7th till Emerson Marham ties it there with a 2-run single in the top of the 7th. Bottineau actually takes the lead in the top of the 9th. In the bottom of the 9th, Thompson tries to lay down a sacrifice, and the ball gets thrown away by Marham. 1 run comes in, and the winning run comes all the way around to score and sends Thompson off to the semifinals in the most improbable way to win a game. Bottineau is down to its last strike and tied the game, and then they have this happen in the 9th inning. Just absolute gut punch. Mickelson scored the winning run for Thompson coming around from second base, and the champs aren't dead just yet. That may have been topped by the next game between Delax, Burlington, and Kindred, which is up 3-0 with the Vikings going to the 7th inning. They see that lead evaporate as the Lakers tie the game in the top half of the 7th. In the bottom of the 8th, Brady Baumgarten delivers a bloop single to left. That would score the game-winning run for the Vikings, who walk off the Lakers 4-3 in 8 innings. Again, Kindred dominated this game. DLB had all of 1 hit going to the top of the 7th inning. They made some unbelievable defensive plays, but somehow rallied to tie the game. But the Vikings walk it off with a 4-3 win in 8 innings. So here's what we have for today in semifinal Friday in Jamestown. Our first game in the semifinals will be at 4:30 between Park River and Thompson. 2 teams that know a little bit about one another. Those are the only 2 teams outside of Langdon have won the Class B baseball tournament over the last decade. And then the second semifinal, about 7 o'clock, Kindred and Velvet Drake Animus will play out at Jack Brown Stadium. Now let's go to Minot and the Class A baseball tournament. There are years I remember covering this where the East had no chance. Today, the East can brag till the cows come home. West Fargo Horace had never won a state quarterfinal game. That is now put to bed. The Hawks, it took every last out, but they edged out Minot North 5-4. Horace is into the semifinals for the first time in school history. Who are they going to get? Well, why not their arch rivals? West Fargo, Cheyenne, and Minot, a rematch of the state championship game from a year ago. Just get the Mustangs to state, and they win a 6-1 decision over the Magicians. Earlier in the day, Fargo South made its return to the state tournament, taking on Mandan. The Bruins got not only great pitching, they've got some hitting as well. They laid the wood to the Braves early in this game. They got up by a count of 5-0. South went on and beat Mandan 8-4. Who are they going to get? Their old friends from West Fargo. The Packers are red hot. They won the EDC championship last week. Yesterday, they bombed Bismarck 12-4. The Packers will get the Bruins in the semis. So here's what the bracket looks like in Minot. You can see these games later today on WDAY2, beginning at 4:30, Bismarck against South. That'll be followed by Horace and Cheyenne. We're going to have an all-East final in the EDC. I can tell you the years covering this where it was just automatic. It was going to be, Bismarck against Century, Minot against Mandan. That is not going to be the case in 2026. That you'll see later today on WDAY2. Now to Class A softball, which was also happening in Minot. This is a flip of what happened in baseball. The West was thoroughly dominant yesterday. Dickinson rolled Davies. They're going to get Mandan, who beat West Fargo. Williston is humming as well. They beat Shanley 15-0. Coyotes are going to get Horace. Congratulations to the Hawks, who got an 18 strikeout performance from Jesse Curry. Just a ridiculous game yesterday. They won 6-3 over Legacy. It'll be Williston and Horace. Those games start at 4 o'clock. They'll be available on WDAY Plus. Meanwhile, Class B softball going on in Jamestown. Velvet Drake Animus. Congrats to them. Both their baseball and softball teams won, much like Kindred did yesterday. So that's the first semifinal out in Jamestown at 4 o'clock. That'll be followed by Central Cass and Beulah. That Central Cass, of course, is the reigning champs. That's a rematch of a semifinal game played a year ago here in Fargo that the Squirrels won. They'll do it again coming up later today at about 6 o'clock out in Jamestown. Those games as well are available on WDAY Plus. So that's what happened in terms of baseball and softball yesterday. Real quick for soccer, which is also taking place out in Bismarck as well. Mandan and Red River will play in the first semi. Shanley and Cheyenne in the second one. Shout out to that. It was hot yesterday. Let's just call it like it is. So we had a little bit of a breeze blowing where we were in Jamestown. But for those that were on the turf like Minot or soccer that was playing, adds already, what did they tell me, 15 to 20 degrees, just like that, because you're on the turf. So it's going to be warm again today. And then depending on where you're at, Bismarck, and for us in Jamestown, we could be battling some raindrops tomorrow. So hopefully that doesn't slow anything down. But great day of action, and a great day for our engineers at WDAY that made that all happen. That was fun to flip around. I know for us in Jamestown, I had several people that were watching soccer on their tablets, keeping an eye. I was of Class A baseball going on in Minot. The ability to flip on different things for people watching us out in Jamestown. That was a heck of a technological achievement yesterday. It's fun to be a part of, and we're just talking about the games. We're not out there shooting them or making sure we're on the air. Our audio's good or the graphics are fantastic, so the replays are great. So heck of a job, and we'll do it all over again coming up later today, starting at 4 o'clock with softball, 4:30 for baseball. We have a packed show to wrap up the week. No Corey Provis today. He is off this weekend as the Twins get set to Pittsburgh, so we'll catch up with him next week. But our guest lineup is brought to us here by Northwestern Mutual. Coming up at 9:35, Todd Phelps will join us, NDSU's Deputy AD, for another week. If you missed the news yesterday, Phelps has accepted a job back at his old haunts at Middlebury College in Vermont. We talked about it briefly on the show yesterday. Todd will join us, chat about his 11 years here in Fargo and what that meant to him. And now heading to the Division III ranks in Middlebury. If we can get some Oswego Middlebury chat, we might do that coming up later on in the show. At 10 o'clock, my conversation with Mountain West Associate Commissioner John Sullivan on how the television schedule came about for the Mountain West and North Dakota State. Obviously, that was announced on Wednesday afternoon. We spent a good portion of our first segment talking about it yesterday. We now know 10 of the 12 Bison games in terms of networks. The other 2 are still up in the air. We talked with John about a variety of topics, including the draft, why the CW is so heavily involved with North Dakota State, a couple other fun topics as well. You won't want to miss that if you're interested in that topic at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, Kindred head coach Scott Milbrandt will join us to relive yesterday's Heartstopper and get ready for tonight's matchup with Velva as the Vikings are into the semifinals. This is their first trip to state in 9 years. They made it worth their while with a wild walk-off win yesterday. So we'll chat about that with Scott coming up at 10:35. So a lot to get to here to wrap up a busy week on our show. We'll take our first break. We come back. Oh, yeah, there was some playoff games last night. We're going to have a Game 7 in the NBA. Highlights of the Spurs and the Thunder and much more as we're just getting started. Hot Mike returns after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com. Welcome back, everybody. Off and rolling here on a Friday morning. Don't forget, as mentioned, we've got more state tournament coverage rolling on Final Four Friday. This is for Minot today in the Class A. You can watch live coverage beginning at 4:30 from Minot of the Class A semifinals. They'll be on WDAY2. Championship tomorrow for the Class A will be at 2 o'clock from Minot as they wrap up the season. For us in Jamestown, we hit the air today at 4:30 as well here on Extra with the championship game at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Now, again, in the submarine yesterday, didn't have a chance really to follow much of what was going on. I was catching up as I was driving back from Jamestown and flipped on the old Sirius satellite radio and saw the score of what was going on in San Antonio last night. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're going to have a 7th game. As outside of Game 1, Game 1 was fantastic between OKC and San Antonio. After that, it has been boat race city in this series. We've had 5 consecutive non-competitive games that can only hope that Game 7 will be an instant classic. Because last night, the Spurs had their backs against the wall. They're down 3-2 after the Thunder won Game 5. And Wemby and the Spurs made sure that this series wasn't going to end. Here we go from last night in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals in San Antonio, which Victor Wembanyama was a man possessed last night. He was ready to roll. His team gave him some help. Devin Vassell here with a monster block, and then has some words for our guy Chet Holmgren as well. Watch this little bump in the shove. We've gotten to the point of this series where there's definite chippiness here. Wemby cans the 3, had 22 points in the first half last night. The Nuns were loving it in the crowd. Spurs are up by 7 at the break. It's a 10-point San Antonio lead. SGA gets to his spot, knocks down the step back, makes it an 8-point game. The lead is 13 for San Antonio, and Dylan Harper knocks down the jumper. Wemby pumped. It's a 15-point lead. Here's Stephon Castle. Nice little up and under move. Makes it a 21-point lead. San Antonio won on a 20-0 run. A 20-0 run. Longest allowed in the playoffs. That wasn't a still shot of SGA. He's just frozen. Another block on Holmgren, that time from Wembanyama. They outscored the Thunder by 19 points in the third quarter. Got up by 26 after 3. How about another? I love the lobs to him because he barely has to jump off the ground. He had 28 and 10. San Antonio wins it 118-91. So we will have a 7th game in the Western Conference Finals. That will be tomorrow night on NBC. Game 7 will tip at 7. With the winner to get the New York Knicks after they swept out the Cavaliers. The Knicks just waiting around. That will begin Wednesday on WDAY. Wednesday night is Game 1 of the NBA Finals in either Oklahoma City or in San Antonio. They'll have home court advantage after what played out last night. So, again, we have not had a competitive game yet in this series. We're hopeful that maybe Game 7, outside of Game 1, was the only competitive matchup that we had the entire time that has taken place here throughout this 7-game series. Again, that'll be 7 o'clock tomorrow night for game number 7. Now, we mentioned we'll not have Corey Provis here today. Really quick on the Twins, who are off to Pittsburgh to get the Pirates for the next 3. Great ballpark, by the way. Heads up for tonight. Tonight's on Apple TV. If you're looking for the game, only available on Apple TV for tonight. So if you're looking for it, you can only stream that. Twins wrapped up yesterday, lost 6-2 to Chicago, so they dropped to 3 games under 500, now 27-30 on the year. The White Sox are not messing around. Chicago now is just 3 games back of Cleveland in the division race. Kansas City and Detroit just hanging up the rear here at 11, 12 games under 500. But there will be some imminent roster decisions that are going to be needed to be made here with the Twins. We know, obviously, we talked plenty last week about Royce Lewis and his demotion, and he's hitting the cover off the ball down in St. Paul. I don't think that's going to be enough to have him come back up. You look at what Brooks Lee is now doing at shortstop. That looks like that's going to be maybe the spot, and who knows if he even has a spot at third base. I don't think so. Like, he may have to play first base going forward from here. Also yesterday, they did lose Kendry Rojas to a pregame injury. He was scratched from the start, and that put Simeon Woods-Richardson on the mound, and he was not very good, and he has not been very good all year. So, again, more injuries to the Twins pitching that they've already had to deal with basically since before the year even began. I mean, Pablo Lopez got hurt on the first or second day of spring training, and that's already set them back. Rojas was scratched before the game because of posterior left elbow soreness. He quickly departed the ballpark to receive medical imaging in Minnesota. So, obviously, SWR came in. He gave up 5 runs, and that wasn't very good. So, we'll see what happens this weekend. No Paul Skeens for Pittsburgh. At least they don't have to worry about facing one of the best pitchers in baseball with the Pirates to wrap up this 10-game road trip before they get a chance to finally come back home. And then we're into the month of June, which is scary to say that out loud, that we've already got to that point in the calendar. I wanted to get a couple other emails in we didn't have time for yesterday with us being on the road. And this goes to the Bison TV schedule. Dom, after seeing the TV times, looks like coffee and energy drinks are going to be my best friend for the Air Force, Sacramento State, and especially the Hawaii game. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. We knew this was coming with the move to the Mountain West, that there was going to be some 9 o'clock kickoffs. In fact, there's 3 at 9 o'clock or later. The trade-off, I would tell you, at least that if you're going to stay up, you don't have to search for the games. The Sac State game is on ESPN. That's about as easy as it gets for sports viewers these days. You're going to tell me it's not on ESPN2, it's not on ESPNU. You're telling me it's on the big ESPN. That's a win, and you take that every day of the week. Dom, did you see your former guest qualified for the NCAA quarters? I did. Paige Rensselaer, who we had on the show last week from Fargo, NDSU track standout, was competing yesterday at the West Regional. She advanced on to the quarters in the 100 and the 200. So she'll run again tomorrow, and then you've got to really blaze down the track. You got to be in the top 12 to make it to the NCAA championships. That might be asking of too much considering how fast some of these competitors are, but we'll see what happens. Also, another local athlete is going to be the NCAAs. That's Jaden Keeler. No surprise there. She advanced on. We remember what she did on the track here at the Summit League. Just reading in the 10,000 meters. Keeler bested her original number 4 spot in the regional ranking to clock the 3rd best time in the field. Keeler crossed the line at a time of 32 minutes, 11 seconds, .14 to book her ticket to the national meet. It'll mark back-to-back showing for the senior at the Outdoor NCAA Championships, who still has one more event yet to compete in the regional this weekend. Of course, she was the outdoor track and field MVP a couple weeks ago here in town when she won 3 separate championships, including the 10,000 meters, was what she run last night. 32 minutes. That is a long time to be running, but congratulations to Jaden, who we had on the show. I would love to have her back on. Maybe next week we can get her before heading back out to Eugene. Speaking of running, we'll do this real quick before we get Todd Phelps on. Tonight is the 5K for the Fargo Marathon. I have the pleasure of running in that in 5 separate times before I quasi-retired. I keep saying I'm going to come back and do it, and then we've added these tournaments, so I'm a bit busy now. And they moved the marathon to the end of May, which is, I'll say, is stupid. I don't understand that. We miss the late, great Mark Knutson every year this comes around because he was the living embodiment of that race. But to all the runners that are going to do it tonight, good luck to you. Hydrate because it's going to be warm or flat out hot. Then tomorrow for the actual marathon, it might be actually not too bad to start. We've had some years where we've had numerous. I mean, did it out here one year broadcasting. It was pouring rain. It was about 40 degrees, and it was just miserable. It's not going to be that case tomorrow. It looks like actually temperatures won't be too bad. But for the stragglers, for the ones that are going to take a while, just be smart about it because obviously the temperature is going to keep going up as the day goes on. So good luck to everybody that's competing this weekend. I've had the great distinction of doing it in the 5K. It's a blast, and proved to myself that I could do it. I was pretty pumped about that. And one time, we'll do it again sometime down the road. Let's break. We come back. Todd Phelps will join us, now outgoing NDSU Deputy Athletic Director, chatting about his new job, heading back to Vermont, and about his decade plus at North Dakota State. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns after this.
This is Hot Mike with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Welcome back, everybody. Friday morning show rolls on. So yesterday we were obviously out in Jamestown for day one of the Class B baseball tournament. The inbox got flooded with a couple of pretty big announcements that went down. One I could not ignore because guy I've known for the better part of more than a decade plus that is getting a new gig. So I'm going to have to bug somebody else about football scheduling now. I'm just thinking of that as we welcome on Todd Phelps, NDSU Deputy Athletic Director. I guess for another week. He's a short-timer because he just got hired as the new AD at Middlebury College in Vermont. He joins us here this morning. Congratulations. I know this is fantastic. You're heading back close to home. You worked at Middlebury before. How did this come about?
Yeah, it's and thank you, Dom. I appreciate it. It's obviously very bittersweet. So Aaron Quinn, who is the current director of athletics there now, he announced his retirement back in January. When I worked at Middlebury from 1995 to 2001, Aaron was the men's lacrosse coach. He actually won a few national championships while I was there. He transitioned over to the director of athletics about 20 years ago, and then again announced his retirement in January. And it certainly piqued my interest when I saw he was retiring. And then they ended up hiring a search firm, Parker Executive Search, who I've worked with in the past for other opportunities. And they reached out and went through the process and went through a Zoom interview process and 2 days on campus. And last week, the president called me and offered me the job, and just couldn't be more excited. It's my hometown. It's where I grew up. I lived there since I was 3 years old, and started my career there, like I said, in 1995. Thought I was going to be a college basketball coach. And when the coaching didn't work out, I went to the dark side and became an administrator. Forever grateful for the people there, set me on that path, and then all the stops after that, and then landed me here at NDSU. So.
What was the interview process like? Was being an athletic director, was that on the to-do list? Like, this is something I really want?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I mean, over my career, it's been kind of, hit or miss as to where I ultimately wanted to be. I'm not going to lie. I love the role I'm in here and working with Matt Larson. And Matt and I have been together for 18 years. And but I think as it kind of progressed and as things went on, I certainly wanted to. I still had an affinity for Division III because I went to a Division III school in Ithaca College in Central New York and worked at Middlebury College at Division III, and still love that world of that athletics, of still the true form of amateurism. And so Division III became very appealing. And obviously when a job like that comes up, and Middlebury is one of the premier athletic departments in Division III. I mean, they've got 49 team national championships. the women's lacrosse team, which I watched over the weekend, just won their 5th straight national championships. So you're going to a place with really, really, really high academics, great liberal arts institution, with also really, really high athletics. So it was something that was kind of too good to be true.
They sponsor a ton of sports. I mean, a ton. Everything. They have football, hockey, I know, but they do squash. I mean, it's unlike a lot of schools now, because you and I have talked about this before, where schools are downsizing. That's not the case where you're heading.
No, and Dom, they've always kind of modeled themselves as the Division III version of the Ivy League. And so that's not only in the sports they sponsor, but even the rules and the policies and stuff that they follow. Yeah. So you're right. I've got now 31 sports, and I've got over 700 student athletes, which is about 30% of the student body. So yeah, it's big. And it was funny because I was actually texting with the head football coach last night, and he was on the committee, and I've known him. But I was texting with him last night that I'm fired up because now, just like the Ivy League with FCS division and NESCAC Division III can now compete in the football Division III championships. So they followed suit just as the Ivy did, allowing the FCS schools to compete in the FCS championship. Now the NESCAC can compete in the Division III championship.
That's fantastic. I was digging through some file video here from, I remember, I got to be your first year on the job. You were the guy that was basically overseeing the completion of the shack. Because I found the video of the tour you and I did from about 10 years ago. Sure. What do you remember about hopping right in on that? Because you got the job, and I think Matt said, hey, he handed it to you like, okay, you got to get us across the finish line.
Yeah, and that was the majority of my career, and it still is a big part of it here. But the majority of my career, when I started, was in facilities, operations, capital projects, very much so on the internal side of college athletics. And Matt and I did a lot of work together at Stony Brook. We completed a huge arena renovation when I was out there, along with some other projects. And so when he brought me on here, he said, hey, we're smack dab in the middle of trying to get the Sanford Health Athletic Complex done. I need you to kind of see it over the finish line. And so he and I worked very closely together to kind of finalize those last details. When I got here, we were halfway through it. So there was there was a year left of the construction. We were over in the GEM building off site. Yep. But it was awesome. It was fun to kind of see this to the finish line. And then obviously the other $100+ million worth of projects we've done with the NODAC and the track and Theraldson Park. And yeah, I mean, it's been that part of it has been a lot of fun to see all those things come to fruition and see where they were when I got here. Yeah. Where Theraldson Park was, where Darren Mueller, I remember meeting with Darren Mueller one of my first weeks here, and he's like, yeah, Todd, I don't bring recruits to the softball field. And now he's got a state-of-the-art facility, and couldn't be happier for everything we got done.
I know. I was going to mention that on softball. I know that was a pet project of yours. I was pet project, another word. That was a project of yours to get that up to Division I standards. And you look at it now. I mean, it's hosted state tournaments here in high school in North Dakota. It's fabulous. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. No, that was. I would say outside of finishing the shack, that became the next priority, and then probably right after that, and we kind of got that really started. Then I remember sitting with Chris Kleiman and Matt and I and saying, okay, the bubble's great. It served its purpose. We have got to build an indoor facility. Wow. And we went down that whole path, and COVID derailed us for a little bit. And then we were able to ultimately get that done in the last few years.
So is there a moment or something that stood out, say, I'm most proud of, I was associated with this? And what comes to mind when I ask you that?
You know what, to be honest, Dom, I think being associated with Bison Nation, and I've said this, to be honest with you, like, this place is special. It's different. I've been a lot of places across the country, and the championships, the signature moments, the facilities, obviously this move to the Mountain West and FBS, I would say all of the above has just been an unbelievable experience to be a part of. And it's been so much fun to see the growth and see what we've done, and to see the brand, the national brand of NDSU just explode. I still have family who talk to me, whether they're in Florida or they're up in Vermont or wherever, and hear people say, like, hey, go Bison, or throw up the horns or whatever. It's been so much fun to be a part of this and what has been built and what we've all been able to do together.
How's being the boss now, Suit? How do you feel that's going to transition now that you're the guy that's making the final call on everything?
Yeah, it's a little surreal, to be honest, and it's hit me a little bit because I'm getting flooded now with emails and text messages and staff there, and want to start talking about onboarding and hey, we need to meet about this, we need to talk about this, we need to do this. So I mean, they're great. They're giving me a lot of time to obviously make my transition and move, but starting to already put the bug in my ear about some things we want to do. And I think as Middlebury is a fantastic place and like I said, a great college, a great athletic department. There's some things that we need to do there too.
Yeah.
To continue to move it forward. I think one of the things I sold them on certainly is my time at Division I. I have a good understanding of the landscape of college athletics at Division I, and if this is going to start to trickle down to Division II and Division III, we're going to be prepared. We're not going to be knee-jerk react to, oh no, what does this mean? We're going to have a good idea whether it's the eligibility, whether it's NIL, whatever it may be that comes across, we're going to be ready to go. So I'm already starting to have that mindset of, being proactive and thinking ahead and getting myself ready to tackle this.
Does it feel, the job comes when it comes, but it's got to feel, I don't know if bittersweet's the right word, knowing FBS football is coming in a couple months. How do you, I guess, balance that?
Yeah, I would say, Dom, outside of the relationships I've built here, which will be, a lot of really special people, I will miss a lot of people here. It'll be hard to leave. I would say probably, and, I said this to Matt numerous times, the toughest part is going to be, is not seeing that transition, from FCS to FBS with all the conversations and all the work we put in behind the scenes to try to prepare ourselves to do that. I'm certainly going to enjoy watching it from afar. But that I would say you're right. That is the bittersweet part, and the part that I will miss certainly as the transition into the fall. The tough thing for me now though is, Dom, is I'm back to East Coast time.
Yeah.
So
yes.
So I might be watching the Hawaii game at midnight. And who knows? And when I saw the times come out, I started thinking like, oh boy, East Coast time is a whole nother hour. The Central. So.
All right, who now gets bequeathed the job of scheduling Bison football games? Who do you give that honor to now going forward?
Well, it's fine. I said that to Matt. Actually, he and I are sitting this afternoon and kind of going through my list of everything, and he's already brainstorming about this reorg. And it's one of the things I said. All right, who are you going to put this on? Because I want them to fully understand what this means. He knows, but I want people to fully understand, or whoever's going to take this on, that this can be it can be very rewarding and it can be very frustrating.
Yeah. All right, so you're out the door. Let's go. You can nuke some teams. Who didn't call you back, or who got you almost to the finish line and said, "Nah, we're not going to do it." You can come on. You can do it now.
And here's what I would say, Dom, is I would say for the most part, I think some of the biggest frustrations I had was just literally not getting any response.
Yeah.
And again, I've listed some of these for you before, but and some of these did. Like Alabama, no response. Georgia, we went back and forth a few times, but a lot of that sometimes got hidden by waiting to see what the SEC scheduling was going to look like, et cetera. But from Penn State to SMU to Texas to just no response. Reach out. Hey, what do you think about this? Let's talk, whatever. Just no response. And I get it. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got their things going on. But I think, when I work with, you've heard me mention this name many times, when I work with Dave Brown on gridiron and football scheduling, he's always honest with me too. He's like, Todd, you can try, but you're probably not going to hear from him. And again, we're a product of our success. And I thought this move from FCS to FBS would open up that door. There might not be quite the hesitation. I'm still seeing that full hesitation.
So there's still some that aren't even calling you back now?
No.
Wow.
Correct.
Man.
Yeah. I think the good thing is that I'm having a lot more conversations with other FBS. And, I told Matt, I said, again, you're always going to try to get that Power 4 game if you can do it.
Right.
But if you can't, really starting to establish relationships with the Pac-12, with the American, with the Sun Belt, Trying to really get a lot of home and home going. Certainly try to bring back the JMUs, try to bring back the Georgia Southerns. To do some home and homes and get those schools back in the dome. Try to get a premier brand name like Boise State to come to the dome and do a home. Things like that have become kind of the focus while still trying to reach out and still try to reach out and see the Power Four. And in some cases, I'm still pestering too. If I don't hear, I'll fire off another one, or I'll shoot a text or whatever. And like I said, sometimes I hear stuff, sometimes I don't. So the good thing is Oregon's still on the board, so we still got that in 28. The crunch right now is 2027, because obviously we were able to hang on to the Montana State in Vegas, have Sac State come into the dome as a return. So now need to get another FBS home and another FBS away, and so that's been the focus for the last couple of weeks.
Who was close and then said, you were almost to the signed contract, and then said, no, we're not going to do it. FCS or FBS? Give us one.
Yeah, there's definitely been some FCS, and I say, I don't. There's been a few, because especially recently when so many of the schedules now are done. People are done like we were done.
Yeah, you guys are all set.
Yes. Is that and the conversation I have with Dave Brown is he's like, we got to try to break up some of these games. You got to try to go in and see if you can go to them and they'll dump them and then they can come to you. And, so we've looked at probably, 25, 30 different scenarios of games. I'm trying to think of a Power Four that we were maybe close with, or at least reach. I would say, to be honest, Georgia was probably the closest.
Wow.
Of a major Power Four that at least we went back and forth a few times. And that was probably 2 years ago. And I thought maybe that was gonna happen, but they were like, we got to wait and see where the SEC is going to go and what have you. But other than that, I get a lot of crickets or hey, we're just not interested.
They just ghost you.
Or I get we're just not interested at this time. Okay, well, I'm going to reach out to you in a year then. So
two last things before I let you go. Where you're going, you have the best nicknames I think around. Just in the teams you play, that's. Because obviously my alma mater, we play they're like Tufts has got an amazing one. Bowdoin's got an amazing one. Those are fantastic where you're going to be playing now.
Yeah, almost Middlebury College almost becomes kind of the bland. I love the Panthers and I love Navy Blue, so I'm excited to put Navy Blue back on. And I love the Panthers, but you've got the Camels, the White Mules, the Eefs, the Purple Cows, the Jumbos, the Polar Bears. It's a nickname heaven.
Now, last thing, for people that don't know, my alma mater, your school, are bitter Division III hockey rivals. When I was in school way back in 1997, 98, Oswego and Middlebury constantly played, and we never won. Middlebury beat them all the time. No more of that.
Yep. And it was so my time, I was there 95 to 2001. During that stretch, men's ice hockey won 5 national championships in a row. Then when I left, they took a little break, and then they won like 3 more. I'll say the last few years have been a little bit of more of a struggle on the men's side. The women continue to dominate and be a top team in the country. The men, new head coach there in the last 2 years, he's building it back up. So right now, I think we'll get there. Men and women's ice hockey. Field hockey, women's lacrosse right now are just so dominant, winning national championships, which is crazy. And track program's phenomenal. Both men's and women's soccer are good. And again, football's won numerous NESCAC championships, and now it's going to be fun to see hopefully progress into the Division III, championships. So.
Schedule Oswego State, and I'm there. I will be there in a heartbeat to come back to Middlebury. All right.
You got it, Dom. We'll do it. And I just want to tell you, I appreciate you. I appreciate our relationships, everything you've done for and continue to do for NDSU athletics. It means a lot to all of us here in the coverage, and certainly get our brand out there. And appreciate it, and I will certainly stay in touch.
I appreciate that, bud. Thanks so much for always making time for me. And I hope Larson will forgive you for slipping the Nashville news on Hot Mic. That was the best thing that ever happened on our show when you told us that the game was happening.
Yeah, he won't let me live that down. He reminds me of that every once in a while when I tell him that I'm going on with you. He's like, do I need to censor this or what have you? We broke the news. People were excited.
Yes, it was fantastic.
They loved it. So yeah.
Great, congratulations, bud. Safe travels, and thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, Dom. Appreciate you.
There he goes, Todd Phelps, outgoing NDSU Deputy Athletic Director, now the new AD at Middlebury College in Vermont. They are a D3 power in many sports, and if you remember, we were doing the show live up at NDSU fall camp. He came on and he was going through the list of schools, like I think Georgia or was Alabama and Oklahoma didn't call him back, or Utah, and he said, yeah, we're going to go play in Nashville. I'm like, oh, really? I don't think the boss liked that he dropped that. That was not public knowledge yet, but we got a scoop on our show. We'll break. We come back. We'll wrap up our first hour. Speaking of scheduling, the guy who does it for the Mountain West, John Sullivan, coming up on our second hour. Also, Scott Milbrandt, Kindred baseball head coach, on the thriller for the Vikings yesterday. More of Hour 1 of Hot Mike right after this.
This is Hot Mike with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Our thanks to Todd Phelps for giving us a few minutes there as we wrap up our first hour, looking ahead to an action-packed weekend. I mean, we got a lot going on. We'll wrap up the Western Conference Finals in the NBA tomorrow night. The Stanley Cup Final could be set by the time we come back on Monday. Tonight we got Game 5 between Carolina and Montreal. Well, one or the other could be set up by the time we come back on Monday. If the Hurricanes win tonight, they are moving on, and it's going to be the Canes in Vegas for the Stanley Cup. If Montreal wins, we got a Game 6. That would be Sunday night back in Montreal. And again, if Carolina wins that, then they go and we'll have it, I believe, next Thursday. Here's the interesting thing before we wrap up and get hour 2 going, that ABC, WDAY, we're going to have every other night. It'll either be the NBA Finals or the Stanley Cup Final on network TV. That's pretty good stuff. That'll start next Wednesday for basketball. If Carolina wins tonight, the Stanley Cup Final would start next Tuesday. If Montreal wins tonight, then the Stanley Cup Final would begin next Thursday, a week from yesterday. I believe June the 4th would be Game 1. So we will find out by the time we rejoin you on Monday, potentially on that. Let's break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. Excited to welcome back John Sullivan to our show from the Mountain West Conference. He'll go into how the TV draft worked, why the Bison got picked for so many TV games, and what else he can tell us about the schedule. It's coming up. We start hour 2 after this.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Final hour of the week here as we wrap things up on a Friday. Looking forward to a state championship weekend. We'll recap everything coming back on Monday's show. So next week as well, there's more football schedule news to chat about. I know people might roll their eyes, but the bowl schedules will come out next Wednesday, which right now is irrelevant to North Dakota State. I would say in about 3 weeks' time, it's going to become very relevant when the Division I cabinet signs off on NDSU and Sacramento State being bowl eligible. And then that discussion we're going to have next Wednesday for where the Mountain West tie-ins will be a heck of a lot more important. That being said, the amount of feedback I got on my story earlier this week on predicting what games and what networks and what times the Bison were going to play actually took off more than I thought. And then that conversation obviously continued on Wednesday afternoon, not only here inside our building, because there is a possibility that WDAY can get a couple of games. I heard from plenty of fans Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening to yesterday discussing how this worked. We thought, Dom, you were way off on how all the process went down. And I'd say, okay, well, let's try and get as many answers as we can to how this all works. So the one guy that can tell us that is the next guest on our show. And we've had John Sullivan on before. He is the associate commissioner of the Mountain West Conference, and he basically runs football and deals with the networks in terms of how they choose games and how that all particularly goes down and how the draft process works. He's going to give you a little bit of insight on that, which I'm more than nerded out to have you listen to that. And also, frankly, on how the CW got involved with as many Bison games as they did. They'll have 4 for NDSU with a potential of a 5th. And he also I asked him about the NDSU Fordham game, NDSU New Mexico game in this upcoming interview. So with that said, here he is, Associate Commissioner for the Mountain West, John Sullivan. We start first on how the TV draft works.
We just released the schedule, the TV schedule yesterday, so we're really excited about how that turned out. With the 41 selections right from TV, and then what we have left over for our new streaming platform on CW or on MW Plus. So that's going to be an exciting new launch for us. North Dakota State did really well, right, with the number of national televised games that they got, and we're still working through one of those right now, as you know. But it was really, I would say, the process with the TV draft. It doesn't necessarily start in mid-May, right? Like, we build the schedule, usually get released, the base schedule in late February, and then we kind of work from late February all the way till about early May with our TV partners on, what they're possibly targeting, what teams they're liking, what Fridays are going to be available, because we have to work on shifting some of those games off of Saturday to Friday. Game times, we have to now, manage 4 time zones, right? And try to do that as much as we possibly can to an equitable standpoint. So I would say the process starts well before we get to mid-May. And then when we do get to mid-May, we work, all 3 TV partners work collaboratively together. And it's a really good process amongst all 3 to work through picks 1 through 40.
NDSU seems like it was a wanted commodity. Is that accurate to describe for their first year in, the amount of national games they got?
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't I wouldn't characterize it that way. Obviously, they have a huge fan base. There's a lot of excitement around North Dakota State. I think the TV partners look at all 10 teams kind of together, but there's a lot of excitement around North Dakota State. Obviously, you saw the 10 national television games they got. So, but really, we're trying to look at the entire schedule with all teams, and so are they. But you can tell with the number of games they got that, there's some real excitement around the Bison.
With the CW in play now, how much did that not necessarily make your job harder, but accommodate for that? You hadn't had to do that in the past, and now, okay, we've got a new partner to maybe send some of our premier, like a UNLV, an Air Force, to make sure they get some love on the CW.
I think having CW involved from our standpoint is fantastic. They've been nothing but great partners to work with, and this process proved that too. They worked really well with Fox and CBS, and for us, having that third partner, having the ability for CW and the national televised reach that they have was nothing but beneficial to the Mountain West.
I know we talked when I saw you in February about the Central Time Zone being such a huge benefit to add North Dakota State and Northern Illinois. The windows, though, I was wrong on this, to maybe see an 11 a.m. or a noon kickoff. Did that just not materialize? That's something maybe you want to shoot for, if possible, down the road?
Again, that's more on the TV partners than anything. They're looking at windows across all FBS. They have 10 conferences. Our partners at CBS and Fox and CW have multiple partners across that they have to work with too, and from the East Coast all the way to Hawaii. So, again, I think in the future you probably could see that, but it really just depends on how the draft goes and what is going on with their other conference partners too. And CW has NASCAR and a few other properties that they have to work with as well. So, again, I think the game times really worked out pretty well for across all 4 time zones, across all 10 Mountain West teams. In the future, you might probably see some earlier kicks, some later kicks. Who knows? It just really depends on how the windows shook out across all partners.
I would be a huge fan of televising the draft. Are you there? Are you in the room? Can you be in the room?
It's probably not as exciting as you think. A lot of it is, I'm communicating with each TV partner separately, as things are coming up or potential Fridays that they're looking at. But a lot of it's email communication. So
I could see that being televised. Do you think people would be interested in that? Like, I'm a nerd for this stuff. Do you think there would be an interest level in that?
You never know, right?
I'm interested also on now that the once the draft gets done, and then how long does it take for you to then to assign? Okay, this is who wants what, and now with obviously having Mountain West Plus to say these are the games that are going to go behind the paywall.
Again, it was a little bit newer process, right, this year with the third TV partner. So we stretched the process out probably over a few days. Sometimes it gets done in a day. Sometimes it gets done over a course of a few days. It really depends on the business aspect of what's going on across all three TV partners. So from our standpoint, again, I think we're not there. We're there to provide support from the conference office of, okay, we need to look to manage from our standpoint the time zones, make sure the late kicks are being spread out a little bit more, making sure the Fridays are a little bit more equitable. And that's kind of just done over the course of a few days. But like I said, the process by which we got to that point really was a couple-month process. And I'm in communication with our ADs too, throughout it, of saying, hey, this one's possibly being targeted and that's being targeted. We got to account for a number of factors from our institutions too, to make sure, because the fan bases also have to be taken in consideration from a gate standpoint.
John, for the Fordham North Dakota State game, North Dakota State, New Mexico, tell me about the process in that and when there may be resolution on those.
I think we'll find out here shortly. We're working through that over the last couple days, well, several days, I should say. CW has a ton of properties that they're trying to work with and trying to maneuver a couple things here and there to free up a window. And so we're working with them. I think that process will probably be sorted out here in a very short time period. I think I would say probably the next couple weeks we'll probably know.
So they have obviously NASCAR as well. I saw they have a mid-afternoon window where a football game like North Dakota State, New Mexico may slot in. Is that something you account for as well? Say, hey, there may be an audience that can tap into football right after a NASCAR race?
Yeah, I think that's something that CW is absolutely interested in, because there's such a driving audience that can feed right into the football game. So sometimes that's later, right? Those might be later kicks. And we try to spread those out as much as we can, understanding that, again, we're working with our TV partners on a lot of that, and they have a lot of say on where certain times goes, but we can provide some background from our standpoint to help make sure we're alleviating some of that.
To have they have the teams actually have playing in week 0, but North Dakota State is going to be front and center on CBS Sports Network. How big a deal is that for the league?
I think it's huge. I think having that game showcased in week 0, any week 0 game we can get. Usually TV really likes it, because I always say I think people are starved for football at that point. So between that game and the Memphis UNLV game, I think that we're gonna have a lot of viewing audience, right? We got the Hawaii at Stanford game as well, not our TV contracted, but one of our games, and then San Jose State at USC too. So we got 4 games in week 0 that we're really excited about. 2 of those being our broadcast partners in our stadiums. So we'll see how that goes.
Have you decided where you're going to be in week 1 yet, or week 0? Sorry, are you going to be in Fargo, or do you know yet?
Most of my time is spent in our administrative command center at the office, and because it's much easier for me and our staff. Really, we have a group of folks in there that are managing every aspect of all of our games throughout every Saturday and Friday, because it's not just it's the operations, it's the weather issues we have to deal with. This managing social media, managing our media contact, manages all of our SIDs and communication contacts throughout the game. So it's much easier for us to work through items when we're all combined in one room. But I'll try to get to a number of Fridays and then get back into the command center on Saturdays.
2 last things. I appreciate you doing this. I know the bowl schedule is next week. How much are you in conversation with that as well, with because ESPN I know controls most of the bowls, but say, okay, this is now where we're going to send our teams to. Has that been clarified, or is that still up in the air?
We're still working through that process. I think a lot of conferences are. We're getting to a pretty good point. We've worked with our ADs and our bowl partners, so working to try to finalize some amendments to the current process, because we're kind of dubbing this as a quote unquote bridge here, right? As we work through that, the next iteration of what the bowl season and our bowl games will look like. for 2027 plus, and sometimes a lot of that will work on what the college football playoff looks like too in that format. So I would say we're getting pretty close on where we're at with the Bulls, and we feel really good about that process.
I know I talked with Gloria and yourself when you were in Fargo in February about just the attention that North Dakota State has done social media wise, just getting to the league. Have you been like this yesterday? This is pretty, I don't know, monotonous release. Was it surprised the amount of attention that we're doing an interview about it? Are you surprised on the response that this has been?
No, Dom, I wouldn't say that. I think this is a big release. I think people love to see where they're going to be able to watch their games. And not to mention, we have a huge upcoming opportunity with our new Mountain West Plus platform too, that we're working, and fans can go to our website and sign up for updates as well when it comes to the MW Plus. But that, to me, in conjunction with adding CW as a TV partner and continuing with Fox and CBS, who've been great partners for a number of years, I think this is a big release. I think that deserves a lot of attention from our standpoint because we have a lot of good games on a lot of big networks and some really good times. So it'll showcase the Mountain West really well, I believe.
You're going to see it at Mountain West Media Days. Already there's attention for that. Is that the next big thing on the calendar outside of finishing up the last little bit of the TV stuff?
Yeah, you could probably say that. We're working with our staff. Stuart Buchanan's leading that charge for Football Media Days, and that'll begin on July 15th and 16th, and that's going to be a pretty exciting kickoff too with some of the new members from our standpoint, and really just the excitement around the league because there's a lot of a number of schools in our conference of the 10 teams that are garnering a lot of attention of how the season's going to shake out. So I think there's some real excitement around the Mountain West, and especially out of North Dakota State, NIU, and UTEP. It's going to be really exciting to see how this all plays out.
I have one last thing. I wanted to get this in on the late windows now because that's a new world for North Dakota State. But it also seems to me, and I try to follow this stuff, there are way more games now available after 9 o'clock at night. I just watching yesterday the release, like, boy, there's 1 week, John, where there's 7 games after 9 o'clock. Is that just a territory maybe we don't appreciate that there's viewers out there?
Yeah, I would say so. We've known that for a while with the addition of Hawaii a number of years ago because that late time slot always does pretty well. So from our standpoint, I think you're going to see that creep into it, those later time slots a little bit more, just because again, it's a full slate of games on Saturday. You're starting to get a little bit less traffic in those later time zones, so there's more eyeballs on those teams. And again, we look at it too, Dom, while it's 9 o'clock in the Central Time Zone, right? We're looking at the local site too, and how that works out of where those games are and to the local standpoint. But again, trying not to stack so many, and we work with our TV partners on that. Again, they have a lot to say on that, but we try to work with them on trying to even that out as much as we possibly can. But there is a huge audience for that later time slot, and we know that, and there's a lot less traffic in that for eyeballs to be on our games.
John's giving us a few minutes there. That was right before we got on the air yesterday for the Class B baseball tournament, so I was able to squeeze that in. As you could hear, there was some commotion going on in the press box, but that was great stuff. So that last question was asking about the later kickoff times, which I know is going to ruffle feathers around here. I understand there's going to be people that are not thrilled about it, but here's what I was looking at on that last question. That week, the Bison play at Sacramento State on Saturday, September the 19th, which is a 9:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff, 7:30 Pacific, right? Because you heard John say we're looking out for the home team as well of when those games are going to start. I counted this up. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games beginning at 9 o'clock Central Time or later that Saturday. That Saturday night, you have James Madison at San Diego State, 9 o'clock on the CW. You have South Dakota at Boise State, 9 o'clock, CBS Sports Network. Northern Illinois at Arizona, 9:30 on TNT. North Dakota State at Sacramento State, 9:30, ESPN. Montana at Oregon State, 10 o'clock on USA. Fresno State at San Jose State, 10 o'clock on Fox Sports 1, and Purdue at UCLA. That's a Big Ten game kicking off at 10 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. So I know you're not thrilled about it now, but this is, again, part of that new world that the Bison have found themselves in. And it's going to mean these kind of kickoffs. It's also going to mean, I think, as you heard John say, because I asked him about why there wasn't maybe an 11 a.m. or a noon, that doesn't mean it can't happen next year. Just the windows weren't there for it this year. That may come about. Also, there could be later kickoff times in Fargo. You know, this year, the latest one they're going to have is 6 o'clock for the Nevada game. That's not to say they couldn't have a 7 or 8 o'clock kick coming here down the road. These are all new things. And again, it's going to be an adjustment, but something that bears watching going forward. So appreciate John giving us a few minutes there. We'll podcast that and post that in case you missed it, because I thought it was some really good info about where the league is and in terms of how they put this all together. Apparently the draft isn't nearly as exciting as I thought it was either. we got clarification that the televising of the college football draft apparently is not going to happen, which is too bad because I would like to at least be in the room on that. Let's break. We get caught up here. Final 35 minutes or so of our show. Scott Milbrandt going to join us in about 15 minutes as well to preview Kindred's matchup coming up tonight with Velva. Back on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra right after this.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Final 35 minutes or so of our week. Getting back to head on the road to Kindred, or excuse me, to Jamestown later today. I'll be on the lookout for any bees on I-94 as we head out there later today. I will say, it had been a little bit since I've been back at Jack Brown, as we talked about yesterday on the show. It still has that feel when you walk in, though, like that. It's just. For those that know what I'm talking about, you're driving along and then, bam, there it's just back a ways. There's the baseball stadium, just cooked away in the part of town, and the amount of people. When we got started for the Park River game with Shiloh yesterday, Park River brought a great crowd for that first game, and they sweated it out because that was, and I mean not because it was close, because it was so hot in those metal bleachers. I would say it was a little different for the Thompson and Kindred fans, what they went through after that. But we had some great crowds, and expect we're going to have that again, certainly today for the semifinals, and hopefully for tomorrow night, the championship game. I was just looking on our old Storm Tracker app here for what we got coming up later today. At least it says cloudy in Jamestown, which we'll take that, but a 10% chance of rain from 6 o'clock on. So we'll see if we have to battle any raindrops. Then overnight, a pretty good chance of rain there, but 75% chance of rain at 7 a.m. tomorrow. But then after that, looks like we might be in the clear. Certainly, temperature-wise, will be a stark difference than what we've had over the last week. But looking forward to a great Super Saturday, which gets going right away at noon tomorrow. We'll roll with the 4 state championship games on our air because we have, I believe, State A softball starts at noon on Extra. Then the State A baseball championship at 2 o'clock from Minot. Then we shift to Jamestown for the Class B softball title game around 4:30. And then we wrap up with the Class B baseball title game at 7 in prime time tomorrow night. The soccer championship you'll see live on WDAY2 tomorrow. That's in the middle of the day, I believe, at 3:30 to wrap up the show there. So, or the day of competition. And then we're on to golf is the last one. By the way, I might have to get our good friend Corey Herlickson back on because Oxbow is hosting the State A Boys Golf Championship next week, next Tuesday and Wednesday. That is a heck of a test for the best golfers in North Dakota in Class A that Oxbow gets it. So I remember they had the Class B there a couple years ago, and it was I'm surprised there weren't some guys that maybe broke their clubs and just been done with it. That is a tough golf course to play a state championship on. But we'll check in with that next week. We've also got a couple other fun guests. I'm not going to tease it yet, but we'll wait till tomorrow or on Monday to give you the full details there. Also this weekend, we've got the Women's College World Series rolling on from Oklahoma City. The opening day was yesterday. They had the first round there with the 4 games. I got home in time to actually see extra innings with Nebraska and Arkansas. Nebraska won it in a walk-off in 10 innings, 5-3. So they're moving on. Texas Tech beat Mississippi State. Tennessee beat Texas, and Alabama beat UCLA. So the loser-out games are tonight with UCLA at Arkansas, Texas, Mississippi State. But we've got 2 games on WDAY this weekend. Texas Tech, Tennessee, that's tomorrow on ABC, and then an elimination game on Sunday on ABC. So that is really neat. That's on top of, obviously, all the college baseball going on. We'll be keeping our eyes on the Jackrabbits, South Dakota State, with a couple of local guys from West Fargo and Northern Cass on its roster. They get going today at 3 against the Huskers to open up the NCAA baseball tournament. Remember, that's double elimination that happens there. So we'll see what if they can keep the magic going after what happened last weekend down in Minneapolis. Speaking of magic, that was what happened with Kindred yesterday as the Vikings knocked off a really game-relaxed Burlington team. We'll break. We come back. Vikings head coach Scott Milbrandt will join us to relive the craziness of yesterday's finish and look ahead to the semifinals tonight with Velva. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns on a Friday morning. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. A reminder of our television coverage coming up later today for the respective baseball tournaments. Both start at 4:30 with the semifinals. If you want to watch the Class A from Minot, that's on WDAY2. If you want to watch the Class B from Jamestown, that's right here on WDAY Extra. The final 4 teams left to try and win a championship looks like this. First game up will be Park River and Thompson. That'll start things, I mentioned, at 4:30. There's no love lost between those 2 teams. Followed up by about around 7 o'clock with Kindred and Velva Drake Animus. Our next guest for a while thought, yeah, for sure they were going to be playing in that second game. And then there was a time maybe he didn't, but his team ended up pulling it out with a walk-off 8-inning victory as Scott Milbrandt joins us, head coach of the Kindred Vikings. I saw you briefly after the game. I think you were just taking a deep breath. Now you've had a little more time to process. Just give me your thoughts on what went down yesterday.
Oh, man, Dom, what a game.
Yeah.
If you're a baseball fan, that was a fun game to watch. If you're a coach or a mom or dad, maybe not so much fun. but a great baseball game. Delax Burlington, what a solid team, well coached. They made some defensive plays, Dom, that I've coached a lot of years. They made some really, really great plays. I thought we stung the ball really well yesterday, but hats off to them. They that kept them in the game. We only had, I believe, 2 strikeouts yesterday, so we did put the ball in play, but they played a really, really great defensive game. It was a lot of fun. So you have a game like that. You're right. You guys were stinging the ball over. They were making diving catches or diving throws to make guys out. That's how they kept themselves in the game. Did you get the sense the guys getting frustrated at all? Like, and we're hitting it hard. It's not landing anywhere. No, you do see a little frustration on because they're competitors, but they shake that off and hey, next time I get up and do it again. Good things happen when you hit the ball like that. It'll find a hole, and then you have to have that, in the first inning, that lucky, sometimes there's luck in the game. You get that lucky spin of Jackson's and it hits the lip and goes for a hit, and we score on that. I mean, that's baseball, though, totally. Game of inches. Carter Gromwell was fantastic yesterday. He got like the hardest luck, no decision probably ever. Describe how he pitched and just what was the conversation like? You went out once in the 7th, and obviously you went out a second time actually to take him out of the game. Yep. He pitched a gem, 6 innings, 2 hits, 8 Ks. Just had a conversation. Hey, you have great defense behind you. Fill the zone up and we'll play great defense. And then, you always have that was a tough thing. I wanted him to finish the game, but you get that gut feeling, and as a coaching staff, we talk every inning and he just pitched a gem. And then Brock Johnson came in and, did a great job, 2 solid innings for us, and sealed the deal.
So let's go back to the top of the 7th inning, right? How it played out, and obviously they put their rally together. You're watching from the dugout. Give me what's going through your mind, seeing when they end up tying the game.
Yeah, well, you think, okay, we're up 3-0. Let's end this thing. And baseball's funny that way. They will take advantage of, good teams will take advantage of, if you have a walk or whatever, and you never know. You play to the last out, and the kids did that. That's one thing about this team. They will never ever give up. Fun group of guys to be around, and we were happy to walk out of there with a win.
So Brady Baumgarten comes up, and tell me your position on that, because obviously there was an error right before that allowed a runner to move up to third base, and then all you need is a hit to the outfield, was exactly what ended up happening.
Right. They made that play on Gabe at second, and it got away from him, and heads up base running to get to third, and that puts a lot of pressure on the defense, knowing that, hey, we can't let this run score. And Brady came up big with that, hit over to left, over the infield. And they did talk about that. I got a lot of texts last night. Boy, coach, you can really jump yet? And I said, I don't know about how high I can jump, but it was sure a lot of fun. And very exciting game.
Yeah, we just showed that. I was going to make a comment on your vertical, but I'm glad somebody else did that. But it was perfect, right in camera shot. But you had a perfect view where you're coaching third base. You could see that this is ball game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, and very exciting. So happy for our kids that, that's 2 games in a row now that we're nail biters like that. And a couple of the kids asked if I had upped my blood pressure pills, and I think I probably should.
You know what? They don't ask how; they just say how many, right? And that's the job done yesterday. What was that like visiting with the guys afterwards? That, hey, we got it. It's just didn't matter how we did it. We're playing on to tomorrow night, now Friday night.
We had a good conversation. I thought the kids, you could tell. I said, hey, we need to smile. We just won. You could tell that it was a very tough game on them, I thought, but no, they bounced back, and we talked a little this morning. I saw a few of the kids this morning, and after our coaches meeting, and they're ready to go.
So now it's Velva who pounded out 10 runs last night. I think they had 13 hits in their win over, and you know how good Lemoore is, and obviously Velva's a talented team. What do you know about the Aggies and what you're going to see here later tonight?
Oh, they're a very good ball club, well coached by Coach Wilder. They hit really well yesterday. It looked like, pretty solid up and down the lineup. So we're going to have to keep them off balance with our pitching. And, we've played really good defense. So fill the zone up again, and play great defense behind them. And it's going to be a great game tonight.
Tell me about the conditions yesterday. I mean, you've coached for a while. Was it difficult? It was hot. Was it difficult, or just, this is part of what we got to deal with?
Yeah, when you go from the championship game in Region 1 in Kindred, and we have to have hand warmers and coats on to.
Correct.
It's sweltering out. I mean, that's North Dakota weather.
Totally.
But I thought it took a lot out of the kids yesterday.
Okay.
And they asked last night, hey, went to the hospitality room and said about 10 o'clock, can we go back to the hotel? Sure. And they want to stay out of the sun today. And so we'll have to fill up some time and keep them in the AC. And, I got Velva with their tradition, right? I can remember back 2011, and first time we were at the state tournament, and Coach Gene Buin and his assistant Jim Everson were coaches in Velva for years and years. I think they had 16 state appearances, won 3 championships. I mean, what a legacy that they left. And I can remember I was pacing. We were going to play championship game. We've never been there. against Grafton, and I was pacing down in the lobby of the hotel, and they were down in there. They were reading the newspaper, having coffee, and they said, "Young man, come here." And we had a conversation that I'll never forget. They really settled my nerves for that day, and boy, what a great memory for me.
That's good stuff. You remember what they said?
Oh, they just said, "You know what, Coach? I know you're nervous. They have, these kids are playing well right now. You have to just leave it in their hands, And I can remember, my son Nick was on that team, and all his buddies, and how fun was that to share that experience with them? I mean, watching those kids grow up, I'll never forget it.
Yeah. You mentioned it's the late game tonight. So how do you fill up the time between now and then? Because we gotta wait a little bit before you get on the diamond.
Right. Well, we talked about that with our coaches, Coach Eggman and Coach Grout, and say, how do we do this? Well, we have a booster club we have a hospitality room that's air conditioned.
There you go.
And they came up with the idea of girls and boys team are going to play some bingo for a couple hours just to burn up some time. Hey, what a great idea. Years past, we've done some bowling or whatever, some inside things, but you don't want to sit around the hotel room all day long either.
No.
So yeah, we're going to fill some time. The kids ask, hey, can we go and see the buffalo for a couple minutes? Yeah, why not?
It's a must in Jamestown. You got to do it. And that leads my next question, because we were visiting off air about being back in that stadium. What does that mean to you? And for taking your team that has not played there before, what's it mean to share this with your team this year?
It's an awesome facility, a lot of tradition there. They've done some renovations, and I believe they're going to do some more on that field. And I know the kids talked about it. Hey, some of those kids have never been to Jamestown, and what a great facility. And Jim Roldson does a great job running the tournament. It's a great experience for these kids.
Just that grandstand there, and Jackson's home run over the Ivy he'll have that memory forever of A, where he hit it, and B, how he hit it.
Absolutely. Yeah, he put the coals to that one, didn't he?
That was a tank. Right, when he hit it, I'm like, oh, he definitely got all of that one. I mentioned the game before it with Park River and Thompson. How good those teams are. There's no love lost either between those two teams. Tell me about that matchup before you guys even get on the diamond tonight.
Well, that's going to be a great game to watch. You talk about more tradition with those two teams. They've been there, done that many, many years, well-coached teams. That's going to be a nail-biter, too. I think that's going to come down, to a lucky bounce, or somebody's going to make a mistake, or somebody's going to have a timely hit in that one.
Last thing before we go, and we were talking about on the broadcast last night, Scotty, on the amount of guys that you've had start games. How much does that help now? You have that depth that you used a couple guys last night, but you feel confident we can go with whoever to go tonight.
I love how our region's set up. You play a 7-inning game that's a counter, and you have that 5-inning game. And I know people all talk about that 5-inning game and say, well, what do you play that one for? Well, that's a huge game. You give kids opportunities to, you can build some pitching depth, give kids reps that maybe wouldn't get them in that first game, and then all of a sudden they rise to the top, and when you need them, they're there for you. So we feel real good about that.
You have the ice bath planned. I don't know if you need it tonight to chill out, after I don't think it's supposed to be as hot today, but I don't know if you'll need it or anything like that for today. I appreciate the time. I will see you later tonight. Thanks for doing this. Congrats on the win, and we'll see you tonight.
Thanks, Dom. I appreciate it.
There he goes.
See you tonight.
All right, Scott Milbrandt, head coach of the Kindred Vikings. We'll see them coming up here on WDAY Extra in the second semifinal. They've got Velvet Drake Animus. That game will start about 7 o'clock, about a half hour after the first game between Thompson and Park River wraps out in Jamestown as the Class B semifinals. You'll see live here on Extra as we come barreling down the stretch of the end of the North Dakota Spring Sports calendar. And then Minnesota gets its turn And they do it, I wouldn't say better, but they certainly do it right. I don't know how they do it because it's not all together. It's spaced out over the next 3 or 4 weeks. And we'll be keeping our eyes on our local teams that are having a chance to advance to potential state tournaments in those sports. We'll take our final break. We come back, we'll put a bow on things, get you ready for a dynamite sports weekend, and we'll send you out the door when Hot Mike wraps on WDAY Extra right after this. Thank all of our guests for stopping by. Been a busy week. We appreciate everybody for giving us your time this week, and another solid week here. We put to bed and get ready to go back and do it next week. We hit June, so we officially hit the halfway mark of 2026. We come back on Monday, and we'll be back Monday to recap everything we see this weekend, how the Twins fare with their series with the Pirates. We will know who's playing in the NBA Finals. We'll get ready for that. We may know who's playing in the Stanley Cup Final by the time we come back to the show here on Monday. So looking forward to that, and launch it. We'll be 10 days out from the World Cup actually starting, which we'll get to that in just a little bit as well, because that's relevant for what to watch here on this Friday. So, yeah, there we go. There's no cool down. You know, we get to June and July and think, well, that's the slowdown because there's no football chatter. Well, I can tell you that's not going to be the case, especially around here. That's not going to slow down. We'll resume our Meet in the Mountain West series. We've done a couple of those so far with New Mexico and Nevada. We're going to hit a few more teams next week. I think we're going to hit Wyoming next week. I hope UNLV as well as we go around the league. So those will be coming back, and we'll check in with a few other guests we haven't had a chance to visit with as well, because there's one story that is worth following out of the Twin Cities. Our good friend Darren Doogie Wolfson out of KSTP reported, I believe yesterday, that we might be getting down the stretch run of a potential St. Thomas, Minnesota men's basketball game. Duke said on Twitter yesterday, it's closer than ever before to being reality. That's something we've asked Johnny Tower about. I know I've asked Phil Eston about, the men's basketball coach and the athletic director at St. Thomas about. They want it. They're welcoming it with open arms, and maybe, just maybe, that'll actually be happening this year between the Gophers and the Tommies. So we'll see. That would be something else for basketball fans in the Twin Cities. Have been begging for that for the better part of a couple of years, since St. Thomas now has become Division I, and they're pretty good. They'd love to test their wares, especially against Nico Medved's team. And if it ends up being the women as well, Mandy Pearson love a shot with her new team against Dawn Plitzowhite and the Gopher team that just made it to the Sweet 16. So we haven't had Dukes on in a while, so hopefully we can get him back. Maybe we'll chat about that. We got a lot. I got 3 pages of what to watch, so we better do it now. What to watch here before we go. All right, so let's give you everything we've got coming. First off, soccer. That resumes today, 4:30 from Bismarck with the semifinals. Tomorrow, the championship game is on TV on WDAY2. That's the True Crime Network. On your listings, that's where you can find the state soccer championships going on in Bismarck. Today at 4:30, tomorrow 3:30 on WDAY2. Now to softball, which resumes today both in Minot and in Jamestown. Semifinals for both classes are at 4 o'clock today. Those also exclusively streaming on WDAY Plus. Isaac Dienison on the call in Minot. Riley Swenson has the call in Jamestown. The championship games tomorrow are both on Extra. The A will start everything at noon, the B at 4:30. We talked about baseball plenty, you know that. Baseball today at 4:30, then tomorrow with a title game at 2 and B at 7. Also, we've got going on, we mentioned Game 5, Canadiens and Hurricanes tonight, 7 o'clock on TNT. The Twins, a reminder, on Apple TV tonight against the Pirates. And the Jacks and the Huskers play at 3 o'clock on ESPN+. Also this weekend, Game 7, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, NBC. Spurs and the Thunder, winner to the NBA Finals. The USA men's national team plays an exhibition with Senegal, and the Huskers and Alabama in softball tomorrow night on ESPN. We got to roll. Thanks to our guests today, to Scott Milbrandt, to John Sullivan, and to Todd Phelps. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you out in Jamestown later today. Thanks so much for watching. Have a fabulous Friday.